and welcome to Trending News Tonic, where we break down the biggest trending news stories from the US and around the world in a clear, simple, and engaging way. In this video, we will do a breakdown of the US Supreme Court ruling on the TikTok ban that caused it to go dark. The ruling occurred on January 17, 2025, and resulted in TikTok going dark late night January 18, 2025. TikTok, one of the most powerful social media platforms on the planet, has just faced a legal showdown like never before. The US Supreme Court has delivered its verdict, and the outcome could reshape the entire future of digital freedom. The Supreme Court, in a unanimous decision issued on the 17th of January 2025, upheld the Protecting Americans from Foreign Adversary-Controlled Applications Act, effectively clearing the way for a potential ban on the popular social media platform TikTok in the United States. The ruling, delivered with exceptional speed following arguments heard in early January 2025, affirmed the government's position that the law targeted TikTok's ownership and control by a Chinese company, not its speech rights. This ruling doesn't just impact TikTok. It's a game changer for the way we use social media, setting a precedent that could affect millions of Americans. The case involved a tension between free expression and national security concerns, requiring the court to balance constitutional rights with government authority. This ruling sets a major legal precedent for how the US government can regulate foreign-controlled digital platforms. The Supreme Court ultimately ruled in favor of the government, upholding the act. In this video, we're breaking down everything you need to know about this historic decision: the key details of the case, the legal battle that led to this moment, the major constitutional questions at stake, the Supreme Court's reasoning, and what this means for the future of social media as we know it. Let's dive in. Statement of the case. In a landmark decision, the US Supreme Court took center stage in the high-stakes battle over TikTok's future in TikTok versus Garland. The case challenged the Protecting Americans from Foreign Adversary-Controlled Applications Act, a law that threatened to ban TikTok from US soil unless it severed ties with its Chinese parent company. At the heart of the debate is a clash between free speech rights under the First Amendment and the government's national security concerns. The petitioners, TikTok, its parent company ByteDance, and a group of US TikTok users argued that the act unconstitutionally restricted free speech by prohibiting the app's operation unless it was separated from ByteDance, a China-based company. The government, led by Attorney General Merrick Garland, defended the act, asserting that it was necessary to prevent a foreign adversary, China, from accessing sensitive user data and influencing US users through content algorithms. The court ultimately upheld the law, ruling that it did not violate the First Amendment because its primary goal was national security rather than restricting speech. The decision reinforced the government's authority to regulate foreign-controlled digital platforms when national security risks are at stake. Context and background. TikTok, launched in 2017, is a widely used social media platform that allows users to create and share short-form videos. With 170 million US users and over 1 billion users worldwide, TikTok has become a central hub for entertainment, news, and social engagement. Its unique algorithm-driven recommendation system personalizes content for each user based on their interactions, making the app highly engaging. However, the ownership of TikTok by ByteDance raised concerns about data privacy, potential surveillance, and content manipulation due to its ties to China. The US government has long been skeptical of TikTok's data collection practices. Some of the concerns include data privacy risks. TikTok collects vast amounts of user data, including location, contacts, browsing history, and keystroke patterns. Since ByteDance is based in China, critics argue that the Chinese Communist Party could demand access to this data under China's cybersecurity laws. Content manipulation. TikTok's recommendation algorithm determines what content is visible to users. Lawmakers feared that China could use the algorithm to spread propaganda or suppress information unfavorable to China. In the past, the US government tried to regulate TikTok. In 2020, President Donald Trump issued an executive order attempting to ban TikTok, but federal courts blocked it on legal grounds. Between 2021 and 2023, the Biden administration explored alternative solutions such as US-based data storage and oversight agreements. In 2024, Congress passed the Protecting Americans from Foreign Adversary-Controlled Applications Act, which required TikTok to be divested from ByteDance or face a ban in the US. TikTok and a group of content creators challenged the act, claiming, number one, the ban was unconstitutional under the First Amendment because it restricted speech. Number two, the government's justification was weak, as there was no direct evidence of China misusing TikTok data. Number three, the ban was too broad, disproportionately affecting American users and businesses. The case was fast-tracked to the Supreme Court, which ruled on it in January 17, 2025. The key question the Supreme Court had to decide was, does the Protecting Americans from Foreign Adversary-Controlled Applications Act violate the First Amendment by restricting TikTok's operation in the United States? This question centered on two key legal principles. The first one is related to First Amendment free speech protections. Does banning TikTok unlawfully restrict speech by preventing millions of Americans from accessing and sharing content? The second one is related to government's national security powers. Can the US restrict or ban an app if it poses a legitimate national security risk? The case involved a tension between free expression and national security concerns, requiring the court to balance constitutional rights with government authority. The court's ruling was based on several legal and constitutional reasoning principles. Does the law directly regulate speech? The court found that the law does not directly regulate speech because it does not target what people say on TikTok. Instead, it regulates the ownership and operation of a company controlled by a foreign adversary. Past cases have ruled that business regulations do not always trigger strict First Amendment scrutiny unless they specifically target speech. Content neutral versus content-based regulation. The court ruled that the law was content neutral, meaning it was not based on the specific messages or viewpoints on TikTok. If the law had banned specific types of content, it would have been content-based and required strict scrutiny. Since the law focused on national security concerns related to data collection, it was subject to intermediate scrutiny, a less strict legal test. For the law to be constitutional, it had to be narrowly tailored, meaning it should not burden more speech than necessary. The court ruled that the law does not ban TikTok outright. It gives ByteDance 270 days to divest and find a new US-based owner. The law allows TikTok to continue operating if it meets certain security conditions. The law targets a specific foreign-controlled company, not social media platforms in general. Since the law only applies to TikTok due to its foreign control, the court found it proportionate to the security risks. The court relied on 3 previous First Amendment and national security cases to justify its decision. Based on these precedents, the court ruled that the law was justified and did not overreach First Amendment protections. The Supreme Court ultimately ruled in favor of the government, upholding the act. The court ruled that the Protecting Americans from Foreign Adversary-Controlled Applications Act is constitutional. The law does not violate the First Amendment because it does not target speech, but rather regulates foreign ownership. The government has a compelling national security interest in regulating a foreign-controlled platform that collects sensitive user data. The law is narrowly tailored because it allows TikTok to continue operating if it finds a US buyer. The ruling means that TikTok must be divested from ByteDance by January 2025 or face a ban in the US. The ruling leaves the future of TikTok in the US hanging in the balance. While the Supreme Court has upheld the ban, the final decision on its implementation lies with the incoming Trump administration. Several possible outcomes remain. Full enforcement. The ban is implemented as stipulated in the act, effectively shutting down TikTok's US operations, unless ByteDance divests its ownership. This outcome would have profound implications for TikTok's users, creators, and the broader social media landscape in the US. Negotiated settlement. a compromise is reached between the US government and ByteDance, potentially involving stricter data security measures, increased oversight of TikTok's US operations, or the sale of TikTok's US assets to an American company, a possibility previously explored with Oracle. Executive intervention: President-elect Trump, who has shown fluctuating support for TikTok, might use his executive powers to circumvent or delay the ban, potentially through an executive order. The legality and effectiveness of such an action remain uncertain and could spark further legal challenges. This ruling sets a major legal precedent for how the US government can regulate foreign-controlled digital platforms. It expands national security powers over tech companies. It limits the ability of foreign-owned platforms to operate freely in the US. It clarifies the balance between free speech and national security in the digital age. While TikTok may still sell itself to a US company, the ruling signals that other foreign-owned platforms could face similar restrictions in the future. This case will likely influence future regulations on global technology companies, marking a significant shift in US digital policy. The final chapter in the TikTok saga remains unwritten. The incoming Trump administration's actions will determine whether TikTok continues to thrive in the US or whether its American journey comes to an abrupt end. Now, we want to hear from you. Do you think the Supreme Court made the right call? Is this ruling a dangerous precedent for free speech? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more deep dives into the biggest stories shaping our digital world. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.